turn this Friday now to the economy. After a wild week of poor economic news and volatile markets, JP Morgan has raised their projected risk to recession to 35%. Last week it was 15%, just to give you a guideline. By Monday it was 25%, again, according to JP Morgan. And by the end of the week, 35%. So is it time to panic? Well, let's ask our buddy Michael Wilkerson. He is the founder of Stormwell Advisors and the author of Why America Matters, the Case for a New Exceptionalism. Michael, what is JP Morgan seeing that is causing them to dramatically really raise the odds of a recession by year's end?
Well, good morning, Dr. Gina,
and
happy Friday. With all due respect to the esteemed economists and MBAs of JP Morgan, what they're failing to appreciate is that for most Americans, most consumers, we're in a recession. We're experiencing it right now. You know, when you manipulate the CPI data to show it being only 3%, when we all are experiencing 5, 6, 7, 8%, then you can pretend that GDP is 2.8%, which is what it was reported in the second quarter. But if real inflation is closer to that 6, 7, 8%, GDP has already turned negative in a real sense in terms of after inflation. That's the reality that most consumers are experiencing. Now, what JP Morgan was reacting to was we just had at the end of the week last week or at the end of the month, a very negative jobs report. It showed that job openings were going way up, that the jobs that were created were actually government jobs, not private sector jobs. And this is something that's been happening now for several months, where we're not creating full-time jobs, we're creating part-time jobs. If you look back since the end of the Trump administration, all of the jobs, net jobs that have been created, have not gone to native-born Americans. They've gone to immigrants, legal and especially illegal. So the actual reality for many consumers is that we're living in a recession. We're not in a position. The one way to look at this, Dr. Gina, would be purchase intent. The number of Americans who say they intend to try to buy a home, a car, a big appliance, it's at the lowest level since lockdowns. So consumers are already feeling the reality that JP Morgan is saying is off in the future.
Hey, Michael, David Brody here. Kamala has been saying in her speeches that she's going to fix inflation on day one if she's elected. I mean, she's vice president. Hello.
Why haven't you fixed it in 4 years? Your policies
well, 100%. And so the question is, what about, what do you do exactly? Trump talks about drill, baby, drill. Is that where it begins?
So it has to begin with untying the regulatory barrier. So we have completely hamstrung, the Biden administration has completely hamstrung the energy industry, the domestic strength that we have. Once that gets moving again, and Trump will do this, we've chased away technology companies trying to invent and do things in crypto and related industries. We've scared them off with regulation by enforcement, where we've criminalized activities of technology development. So I believe that Trump will undo all of that and put in some reasonable trade policies to help protect our borders from trade, but also protect the human capital of this country by protecting our southern border.
Michael, the head of the United Auto Workers Union endorsed Kamala and Walz, even though the electric vehicle push is destroying the auto industry. But that union leader also admits that most of his members will probably vote for Trump. Michael, how can the head of the UAW make the case for supporting Kamala and Walz?
Because unfortunately, the leadership of these labor organizations are now completely dislocated from their rank and file. They no longer represent the people that they're purported to serve. They've now become money-making machines whose mission is to sustain the organization and the leadership that they have, the power that they have, not to mention the financial perks.
All right. Well, very succinct and right to the point. Michael Wilkerson, as always, thank you so much for being with us.
Great to see you.
You too.